Dell UltraSharp U2724DE versus the U2725QE. And the real question is whether the newer one's 4K panel and beefier hub actually earn the extra money on your desk. Both dock your laptop over one cable, and both run at 120 Hz, so paying more only makes sense if sharper text and the stronger port setup show up in how you actually work. Though going cheaper and squinting at small type all day isn't a win either. By the end, you'll know which one fits you. Let's break it down. Start with the thing you'll notice within 5 minutes of sitting down, which is how text looks at the size you actually work at. The U2724DE runs WQHD 2560 by 1440 across 27 inches. That's a perfectly comfortable amount of desktop, and at normal desk distance, nobody's going to call it soft. But the U2725QE moves to full 4K 3840 by 2160 on the same panel size, and that's a real jump in pixel density, not a spec sheet flex. If you spend your day in code editors, spreadsheets, or long documents, letter forms just look cleaner, and you can run more windows side by side without shrinking type to the point where you're leaning in. There's a buyer who put it plainly: with my poor eyesight, this one is well worth the cost. The 4K makes a big difference in how well I can read text, and the picture quality is great. When somebody says the resolution changed how their eyes feel at the end of the day, that one I take seriously. Both use Dell's IPS black panel, so contrast and color are strong on either. My one beef with the newer model is that some owners and reviewers report uneven backlighting or IPS glow, which mostly shows up on dark screens in a dim room. If you work with the lights on, you'll likely never think about it. Sharper text is the headline, but plenty of people buy these to kill their dock, so the port setup matters just as much. Both are Thunderbolt 4 hub monitors, meaning one cable carries video, data, and power to your laptop at once, and both give you Ethernet built in, so you're not hanging a dongle off the side. That said, the U2725QE is clearly the stronger hub. It pushes up to 140 watts of power over that single cable against 90 on the U2724DE. And that gap decides whether a 15 or 16-inch laptop actually charges under load instead of slowly draining. It also adds a second Thunderbolt port downstream, 4 USB-A ports at 10 gigabits, a couple of USB-C downstream ports, and 2.5 gigabit Ethernet rather than standard gigabit. If you're replacing a dock outright, that's where your money goes. That extra bandwidth also changes what happens when you're running more than one machine or more than one screen. Both have a KVM, so your keyboard, mouse, and webcam follow whichever computer you're using, and both daisy chain to a second display over DisplayPort. The difference is headroom. The U2725QE can daisy chain up to 2 additional 4K monitors and handles max single cable duty about as cleanly as anything short of Apple's own screens. The older U2724DE does the same trick at WQHD, and honestly, most people running a 2-screen setup won't feel limited. Where I'd pause is reliability. A handful of buyers report the Thunderbolt connection or a USB port going flaky on the U2724DE after a month or two. And while that's not the majority experience, it's worth checking every port properly inside your return window rather than discovering it in month 3. The newer model's KVM gets more praise than complaint, though a few people mention it takes some fiddling to set up before it behaves. On eye comfort and motion, they're closer than the price suggests. Both run 120 Hz. Both have ComfortView Plus for blue light and an ambient light sensor that tracks your room lighting, so scrolling and dragging windows feels equally smooth on either. Don't read that refresh rate as a gaming feature, though, because response times on both leave some ghosting, and neither is the screen you buy for competitive play. So where does the extra money actually go? The U2725QE costs quite a bit more, and you're paying for 3 concrete things: the 4K panel, the 140-watt charging with the bigger port cluster, and faster Ethernet. Nothing else about it is dramatically different. The U2724DE is still a premium-priced monitor, and it never pretends otherwise, so its value depends entirely on whether you'll use that Thunderbolt hub every single day. Because if you're just plugging in a desktop over DisplayPort, you're paying for hardware that sits idle. What you don't get from either is serious HDR. The newer one carries the certification, but it's edge-lit with limited dimming zones, so keep expectations modest there and don't let it factor into the decision. Here's the call. For most people watching, I'd spend up the newer QE model, because the density gain in text is something you feel by hour 6, and the beefier charging plus faster wired networking mean it genuinely retires your dock instead of half replacing it. If you're driving a 13-inch laptop or a desktop over DisplayPort where that whole hub sits unused, the DE version saves you real money and gives up nothing you'd miss. But if you're on a 16-inch MacBook doing one cable duty all day, or you plan to hang extra screens off the back, the cheaper one runs out of room fast, and that's where I'd stop trying to save. And you, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. Links below in the description.